break.
Caleb throws, middle of the field, Logan catch, Logan 20, Logan 10, Logan end zone.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Touchdown Bears! Mighty Manungai, another touchdown run.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Cairo Santos is up, and it's good! Bears win it, no way!
And
Now, Bears Etc., brought to you by Miller Lite, with the voices of the Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
Armed with new weapons, new cornerstone pieces, and a group of extremely competitive, athletic, and driven individuals, the Bears add more to a defending division winner with championship aspirations. We discussed in episode 219 of the Bears Etc. podcast with Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak, and this episode of Bears Etc. is brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer partner of your Chicago Bears. Tastes like Miller Time Chicago. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. This is going to be a special show because you're going to hear from the top 3 players selected by General Manager Ryan Poles and his staff in concert with head coach Ben Johnson and his staff. And the area scouts, the national scouts, the director of college scouting, and paint you a picture of just how detailed this goes, how much cross-checking there is done on scouting just one player, let alone a whole class, and how much investment these guys have, Tom. And we'll hear that they could close their eyes and already see the player. They don't need notes. When these guys sat down to interviews that I did with them over the course of the weekend, no notes. They know these players cold. And that's impressive.
Yeah, listen, they put a lot of years, a lot of time in investigative work and behind the scenes type of development and upbringing all these kids had. Sitting in that room, Jeff, and at the combine as a player, it's one of the most intimidating atmospheres that a young man can walk into. No matter how much they think they're prepared, they are on the biggest, most important job interview of their life. And the coaches are prepared as well. They have a variety of questions to learn a little bit about them. They have some video already that they can put up there and kind of question them about what they're seeing. And then they have a board in the room that they can ask them to go up and draw plays or give me reasoning behind you're going to make the decisions you're making as to what you're seeing. It's one of the most intimidating 3 days in a young guy's life, and that's part of the judgment of why these guys are Chicago Bears. From the day you get to Indianapolis until the day you're getting ready to leave, there are so many different elements of trying to impress people that you go through, and the scouts are paying attention to every single detail from the way you walk in the room until the way you walk out of the room.
Right, and the collaboration that's involved too. And when you're putting a player on the board, they may have shouted out a play, especially for quarterbacks. They'll give you a big play. Then they'll ask you a bunch of questions. Now, what was that play I just and it's like 40 words long. I would wilt like a dead flower in a humid, hot day. I wouldn't be able to survive. I'd say, thanks for the meeting. Nice knowing you. I just failed. Or drawing up plays. What were you thinking on this particular play? They'll pick a play out of a game. There's no way the players are going to know what play they're going to pick. And they're going to put it up there and say, what were you thinking here? Why did you go all the way to your third progression here? What was 1, 2, 3, and 4? Or for an offensive lineman, what were your blocking responsibilities? So I don't know. Did you have to do that?
Yes.
You did, okay.
I mean, but so about an offensive line specifically, Jeff, they're not going to ask you the same questions that they would ask a quarterback. But they're going to ask you a question about a sweep that you and the backside tackle are pulling on, or you're going to trap somebody. And they want to know from the opening step, what is your aiming point? What is your, what's your target? Now, why are you taking this type of path? Why do you have to get a little bit more depth on a 49 near GO because you got to clear the fullback? It's all these different details depending upon what your job is, what position that you're up there trying to impress the coaches. These coaches go into this combine, they have 1,000 different questions in their head because you don't know what player is going to walk into the room for that minimal amount of time that you want to present with the most effective questions.
Yeah, that's just the combine too. Then there's the 30 visit, then they're getting to know them in another unique way. And just asking a lot of questions. They dig deep, as we all know and have learned over the course of our time. Good news, Chicago. United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat, and room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears, and you too. I mentioned this at the outset, Tom, the married opinions of the coaching staff and the scouting staff. Collaboration was said to be on point, and frankly, that's critical. Everyone is on the same page and same wavelength at Hallis Hall. I know I've said this on multiple podcasts, but everything I'm hearing, the scouts know the exact types of talent the coaches want, and the coaches trust the scouts to find those players and the traits and makeup to be a Bear. And they want them to be, as we've talked about, a grizzly Bear, and that checks every box from character on up to performance. So that is probably the most significant development here in the 2 years, not even 2 full years of being together. They are feeling each other, and they know exactly the direction. And if you don't have that, you're doomed, and they've got that.
Listen, if you cannot create competitive culture, and they kind of complement each other. You got to have guys in there that are competitors. They've been competitors since Pop Warner High School onto their college career, but they also have to come in, and that's the good thing about some of the scouts we're going to hear today, is the culture that these guys have already been a part of, and they're a big reason that they're coming from positive cultures because of the type of person they are. And I just think since Ben and his staff has been here, we've seen a result in a complete 360 change in a positive culture. And I think it's important to be successful to have that competitive working culture atmosphere.
So this 7-player draft class, Tom, they'll compete. All of them, in my opinion, will get an opportunity to play this year, barring injury as rookies. Particularly, I don't know if they're going to be active every week. I don't know any of that, but I really feel that they are going to be able to get on the field, especially special teams, and they'll grow, they'll make an impact because it's a collection of smart, savvy, stubbornly competitive individuals. They're strong. They all know where the weight room is, as you like to say. They're versatile, and they've got speed. I mean, they've got all these advanced athletic levels that really mark this class as being one of the most athletic draft classes in the NFL this year, if not number one.
Yeah, I don't mean that. You got to understand what I'm saying here. I don't want these. The only guy I want starting is Dylan.
Yep.
Every one of these guys, I want to be a part of a competition that the guys that are already there in front of them are holding off this competition and making these players ultimately become the players that they will. And now we'll talk about this draft class in 2 years or 3 years and see what they're doing. But when Roush is obviously going to be a part of the tight end package because of the versatility of that position, the job requirements, and everything else that goes along with it. The rest of the guys, maybe not Logan, other than extra point and field goal protection. These other guys are going to be major contributors on special teams, and that's the way they're going to earn their game day opportunities. And then, like we saw Ben do with the rookies last year, at least on the offensive side of the ball, at least you start filtering in.
Yep.
What they can contribute. And if we took the numbers from Monangai and Luther Burden and Colson Lovell in the first 4 games of the year, as opposed to the last 13 games of the year, it was significant in their contribution. So I'm excited for this draft class. I think we're going to be super excited about this draft class in maybe 2 years.
And it also speaks to what they put together because they'll have the luxury, again, barring injury, to do what you just said, because they've got plenty of people in those positions right now that the Bears are counting on at those very positions. So to me, it's a perfect scenario.
Just real quickly, they brought in Jordan Vanderberg, and he's a guy that's going to fight for every tooth and nail on the defensive line. But they have 13 other defensive linemen already on this roster. So it's going to be a super competitive position in order to fight for playing time.
All right, let's start in with Dylan Thieneman. He reflects on his draft night as he slipped to the Bears at 25. Many thought he'd go into the teens, so it was a perfect situation for the Bears to pounce on a moment he'll never forget.
Yeah, I was really just sitting there, just happy to be there at the draft to start, and then to be there with my family and other people that really supported me was amazing. and then it gets to eventually we go through the draft and it gets to the Bears pick, and I like turned away, so I turned my head to the right, and Jake starts calling my name. My brother was sitting right next to me. He's like, Dylan, Dylan, Dylan. And I look down, the phone's ringing, and then I call it up. It's like, hey, this is Chicago Bears. And I talked to like 10 different people, and then I was just like extremely thankful to be picked by them.
That call. I mean, this is 1% of 1% in the world that get this call. Is it surreal? Because you go through the process, you invest yourself in this sport, and then you get the call. I mean, what's going through your head on the call?
I'm just trying to like stay composed a little bit because I know I got to talk to these guys, but like it was just incredible. I mean, I talked to a lot of guys on the staff there, and then to be here and to meet with everyone, it's been awesome.
I personally thought you would go a little earlier. I didn't think, man, it was going to be possible. But as you're watching that board go, what were your emotions as things started to develop?
I had an idea of like what my agent was saying and what some other people were saying about possible teams or ranges I could go, but in the moment, I would say I was pretty calm. I think I was calmer than my dad and my brother. So my dad was kind of going through it a little bit, but in my mind, it was like I had done everything I could to get to this moment, and there's not much more I can change. It's just leave it up to chance and hope I end up in the right spot, and I definitely ended up in the right spot.
It's inevitable. I don't care if it's a draft pick or a free agent that comes in this building, they walk through, and it's like, it's the Charter franchise, and it's a museum of history. As you walked into this building and see what you're walking into, the Charter franchise, the National Football League, with the founder and his statue out front, what was going through your mind?
I mean, it was just incredible. I mean, it's a great facility, great people here that I've been meeting all day. I just can't wait to get in and get to work.
What do you remember about your interactions with the Bears at the Combine and any other touch points?
I remember sitting in the room, and there felt like there was like 100 people in there. Small room, a lot of people. So they had me sitting in a chair kind of like this, and everyone was on that side. And they were just first asking me questions about like background and why I chose to go to Purdue or Oregon and why transfer and all that stuff. And then I got to going through some film, and then they had a whiteboard next to me, and they had like an offensive formation. And they're like, all right, it's third and 6, 3rd and 7. What defensive call are you making? And I had to get up there and like write it down and say what we were doing and the calls and checks and everything.
You clearly aced the test.
Right. It was.
Do you describe yourself as a cerebral player?
Yeah, I mean, I like first understanding it from your position and what you're supposed to be doing, but understanding what everyone else is supposed to do on the defense and how everyone works together. It helps you just play faster overall, and it helps you, I think, trust your teammates more. Understand like they know what you're doing, you know what they're doing, so you can trust each other to have your back.
I'm obsessed with safety. Since I was a little kid, I love safeties. I think it's, tone setter, playmaker, and you seem to check all those boxes. But I'm going to let you tell Bears fans, what type of player are you?
I'm a kind of player that just all he thinks about is football. Like growing up, ever since I was 4, it's always been football. No doubt in my mind there. But I love everything about it, lifting, watching film, training. And then to get out there on the field is incredible. So, I mean, I love using my speed, playing fast, being able to recognize, being aggressive, being violent. Like, it's a violent, physical game. So, you gotta be like calm a little bit, but when you get on the field, you flip that switch.
So they call players like yourself in this building Grizzlies. So do you feel you are a Grizzly?
I think so. I guess I know I haven't heard that yet, but I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, you're a Bear. The instincts are huge. Take me back to that Penn State game. I know everybody's talking about it, that pick, the moment. If you could break down the whole play, even.
Yeah. So coaches are extremely smart in that area. That we had actually ran that play, the defensive play call against that offensive play call, in practice a few times. So when they lined up in that formation, I had an idea that they would probably try a wheel route to the tight end. And then I was able to kind of just push through the zone, carry the tight end for the safety, and by the time I got my eyes back, he had thrown the ball. So coaches put me in the right spot to do that.
Combine 4.35. Wow. 41 vertical, but the underrated is, not many guys are doing the bench, and you set the tone for all defensive backs with 18 reps. About that workout, and it really raised a lot of attention to your abilities beyond just football. What did you think of your performance there?
I thought it was incredible, like all the work you put in. So you go through a whole season, and then you go right into combine training. You have maybe a few days off, you get to combine training, you're putting another 6 to 8 weeks there. And then you're in Indy, you're there for a week. You're there for 3-4 days, like doing medical, meeting with teams, and then you don't work out till like the second last day you're there. And to go out there and hit my goals that I had written down before the training was incredible.
Yeah, so 4.35 was that the target?
4.3 was my goal, and then getting 4.35 was like a little cherry on top.
That's awesome. This defense, in my opinion, now with a player like yourself and Kobe back there, Kobe Bryant, getting a couple stingers, guys that are gonna really lay the wood, set a tone. How important is that relationship? I know you guys are interchangeable, and just your overall ability to play multiple positions with that kind of violent nature.
Mm-hmm. It's extremely important. If you get out there and you can only really do one thing, it kind of tips off the offense about what things the defense can do as a whole. If you're more versatile, you have more opportunities to get in different looks and attack the offense in different ways. So I'm excited to work with Kobe and learn under him.
Yeah, have you watched his game by chance? And he's a champion.
He's a champion. I have not been able to watch it yet, but I'm excited to get to work with him.
What type of leader are you? And do you think you have those traits in you to be an alpha in a locker room? I know that's organic and that happens over time, but are you that player? I
think I am. It's definitely going to take time. Definitely a learning experience. I don't think anybody has it all figured out yet. Neither do I. But I like starting, leading by example, earning the respects of teammates and coaches, and then you just start building your way up from there.
All right, I got to ask you about something that's been circulating. Apparently your mother sent a photo, the family all in Brian Urlacher uniforms. The genesis of this, were you guys Bears fans? I mean, what's the story?
So when I was young, we were in northern Indiana until I was 4, and then we moved to Indianapolis. But while we were in northern Indiana, we were Bears fans. I was pretty young, so I didn't remember much from then. But I heard in the photo they had to Photoshop me in because I wasn't staying still when I was a little kid.
You're still not staying still.
Yeah, I know.
You're a marauder back there running around with your hair on fire. That's a pretty cool story. So everybody was a Bears fan. Well, what comes around goes around. So now you guys are back in business here with the Bears. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
I always love getting your thoughts because you're not in the room sitting there, but you're listening. But this is a young man that one big takeaway is that he's obsessed with football. It's not a word otherwise spoken about him. Every person that you'll hear on this podcast basically says the same thing. And I think we said it on our Bears draft show on Fox with Cassie Carlson the other night. That's the way Ben is. He's looking for like-minded individuals that are obsessed with football. And Dylan Thieneman is that player.
You know, one thing about Dylan, when you talk about the call and the emotions that you have to keep intact and how he said he tried to stay composed and, watching the board and, everything else that went into this from, we talked a little bit about it, the room at the combine, you can hear this guy's voice. He's an alpha male. He's a culture creator. And so from what he's going to bring to the Bears from the moment he gets into training camp, I'm going to surpass rookie mini camp and OTAs. But when you start, walking to the practice field and you're carrying your shoulder pads and helmet, that's when we're going to see the real Dylan.
Yeah, this reminds me of when Mike Brown was drafted, and I was on the practice field for it was a mini camp, and Mike Brown is already lining up the veterans, and you could hear that squealing voice of Mike Brown, the very unique Mike Brown. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be a player. And at the time, I had one of the directors of personnel slide me a tape. Watch this guy. It was that time when hey, what do you think of the safeties? And I had his name was Rogers Beckett from San Diego State. That was the guy I thought, yeah, I think this guy could play. And maybe you should watch Mike Brown. Well, Mike Brown was the man. Big Mike Brown. Bears Director of College Scouting is Breck Ackley.
Yeah, versatility at his position, the ability to cover, the ability to walk down in the slot and cover slot receivers, also range on the back end. And then you combine that with the physicality in his run support, his ability to come up, square up the ball, and tackle in the alleys all stood out. High football character, high personal character, really all about football, and he fits our DNA here. And he's one of those guys that eats, sleeps, and breathes football, and you could feel that in his interview. Like, very intelligent, really good on the board, but just a high-level football thinker who's passionate about the game. I think pairing with Kobe on the back end and what he can do and make everybody else around him better because of his ability to cover, ability to play the run and tackle, I think he makes our defense better.
And that pairing, Tom, with the free agent addition of Kobe Bryant, that to me is going to be one of the most important relationships to watch grow this season. You got a young veteran free agent who just won a Super Bowl and plays exactly like the Bears want, that type of mentality from a tough part of Cleveland, Ohio. This guy is going to be a great compliment. They're going to complement each other, I feel. I really feel strongly about this duo.
One thing about Breck, though, is what his first compliment is his ability to cover. And that's really a unique trait for a safety because you have to have that reassurance that the deepest of the defense is going to be covered by one of your safeties. And then he brought up tackle willingness. And that's the key element. That's why you love safety so much, is because the job requirements of that safety position, if you can't cover, you can't play, but you got to be willing to tackle in order to play. And Breck described him perfectly in complimenting his willingness to tackle first.
All right, now Brendan Rehor. He's a national scout for the Bears. He'll tackle the personality perspective of the number one pick.
He blew us all away at the Combine. I was in there for obviously for his meeting. Reese Hicks, who's our area scout, John City, who's our national scout for that side of the country. Dylan walked in, and you instantly felt a guy that was just all about football. We put our players through film work. His recall was special. He spoke the language. It was extremely fluid, just the dynamic between him and our coaches. And he was all business. And at the end of the day, you really get a chance to feel just his demeanor and his passion about football.
Just right there alone, it's something consistently spoken. Dylan Thieneman is passionate about football. Or, like Ben said at the podium on Sunday when they wrap things up, if football is taken away, it would profoundly impact these players. And I know that's how you are, so you can relate.
Yep.
No football, what do I do? What do I do?
Right. Again, when you think about his impression that Dylan made on him, the impression started at the Combine, and you finally get a chance to sit in a small room and have a one-on-one eye contact conversation, and you walk away from there feeling good about it. And then he was impressed by his mental recall as a learning safety. So those are the types of things that you pay attention to in those short interviews. And then it kind of gives you that positive reinforcement that, do I have to invest more time in this guy? I mean, he's a serious candidate to be drafted by us this year. And it's those little impressions that are left on these scouts that, that process of evaluation continues.
All right, here's West Coast scout Reese Hicks doing his due diligence, going to Oregon, watching, learning, and listening.
Yeah, so Dylan was a fun, watch for me. Came in from Purdue, and then he's another one that they love him in the building, in terms of the work ethic, the intangibles, the football intelligence. He provides all that stuff, the versatility as a player as well, playing in the box, playing deep, and he can also play like nickel in the pinch as well. So adds a lot of value in that regard in terms of his versatility, and he can run, and he tested really well at the Combine, and just helped himself in that regard because the tape was already really good. So I'm happy to have him as well.
He's all about ball.
He is.
And what do you see that explains that love of the game that this organization is making as an absolute starting point for every future Chicago?
I just think the work ethic. Everybody in the building says he's the hardest worker in the program, and that's a really high-end program at Oregon. So, for them to say that, is really high praise. So, I just think the work ethic and just how important the game is to him. He's going to prepare. He's going to be ready for any possible opportunity that's available to him. Easy learner, really smart kid, and is going to be in the right spot, in addition to the good instincts he provides as well.
A player without instincts, Tommy, as Hicks pointed out, good instincts he provides, is a player without a home, man. Instincts combined with athleticism and competitiveness, that's what equals a first-round pick. You got to make splash plays too. But 36 years after your old teammate Mark Carrier was a first-round pick out of USC, went on to have a 10-interception rookie season. The Bears have invested in a first-round pick with all of those instincts. And at that position, when you have instincts, and not everybody on the team that's on any 53-man team has great instincts. You hope they do, and I don't know if it's learned behavior or not. By definition, it's not. You just instinctually, make plays. To have that, to be as versatile of a weapon he's going to be deployed as for Dennis Allen, that's the perfect storm, right?
Yeah, that's the first thing Hicks brought up is his versatility. And because of the safety position and the rotation of the position and the different offensive groupings that you're seeing, you got to have a variety of skills to be versatile. But the thing that I like what Hicks said is he's loved in the building. When you go to a college working atmosphere, especially a football team, and you're admired by the rest of your teammates, it says a lot about what you are. And then they talk about how he's the hardest worker in the building. Those are the traits that you're searching for in an NFL football player in a first round draft choice. So, all the, impressions that he's left on these scouts, everybody has something different in a positive direction to say about him. So he tapped into a lot of what the scouts were looking for.
Another word on the scouts too, because they've been doing this a long time. They know when it's disingenuine, right? When they say,
oh yeah,
because you may have been burned once or twice along the way by somebody man, this guy you will not be disappointed in this man. And he comes to the NFL, not the same guy, not the same picture they painted. So that trust factor is built over years of finding the people that are going to give you the proper information, because they have a lot to lose if not. And same for the school. And you got to be able to trust those guys. And that's something that is developed over a long period of time. Again, why I have great respect for scouts, including national scout John City, also with a bird's eye view of Dylan Thieneman.
Dylan is a complete professional. You get a chance to walk into Oregon, and before you go out to practice, you hear them talk about the character, the integrity of the kid, and then you go out to practice and you see everything that was just talked about. For me personally with Dylan, about a 2-hour practice would have been early on in November, and sometimes you wait after practice to get a chance to talk to the position coaches about who you're going there to see, and you kind of just look out the side of your eye, and Dylan's over there on the field for 25 minutes after practice, just working on something simple, footwork. 25 minutes, and sitting there, and you kind of keep rolling your eyes like, is this really happening? And that's who this kid is. That's what we're getting in terms of him as a Chicago Bear. Just a consummate pro, hard worker, dialed into the process, and there's a reason why we took him where we did. Dylan checks every single box. He's everything you want in a Chicago Bear. He embodies the city, he embodies this team. He embodies what Coach Johnson is trying to instill here, just as he continues to change the culture of this team, this organization. And he really is just a perfect example of everything we want a Chicago Bear to be.
John, being a national scout, man, that means logging a lot of miles. You're gone a lot of days, a lot of Marriott points, as he joked with me. But I could just see it on his face, just how much he loves this kid. And I love the little stories they find out, like he explained as well.
The thing that I like about what John saw is Dylan working after practice. You see a lot of guys, Jeff, we've been to probably 5,000 practices in our life. And you see the guys that after they have the huddle, they want to be the first one in the locker room, showered and gone. When you get a guy like this that's on the cusp of being a first round draft choice and has already garnered the respect around his own building that he already has, and then he sees him out there after practice working on footwork and the little details of the position, that leaves a significant impression on me as an ex-player and the scouts that are there watching him. So congratulations to John for picking up on that, and another one of those impressions that Dylan left on you.
Yeah, and again, there's a reason for all this, the way I did this. The behind-the-scenes work and the perspective of the scouts, the cross-checking is so detailed and necessary given the investment. And Francis St. Paul is the assistant college scouting director, someone that I value a great deal as well. Not able to sit with him over the weekend, but his impact on this is all significant as well. This podcast is brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer partner of your Chicago Bears. Tastes like Miller time, Chicago. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. And score big at your local Chevy dealer. The Chevy Silverado will take you through this season in style. Chevy Drive Chicago, official truck partner of the Chicago Bears. I want to add also, it's not just being last off the field and getting all those extra reps like we saw from the undrafted rookie last year, Jade Walker, who developed an unbelievable relationship with Caleb Williams. And Caleb was counting on him after practice to take more passes and work on the jugs gun or whatever. But it's before practice, because during training camp, folks, Tom's out on that field before anybody. He's talking with coaches, and you're watching. You know who's out there first.
Yeah.
And that matters also.
Oh, it does. Listen, one thing about quarterback and receiver, it's not a one-man job. Quarterback receiver is a complementary position that the quarterback needs a hardworking, extra time receiver, and the receiver needs the same thing out of a quarterback. So when you see a guy like Jade Walker, an undrafted free agent, come out and have the preseason that he had that leads into career expectations, I'm happy for him. I'm proud of him, but it's the same thing for Caleb.
Were you first on the field type of guy when at practice, or no?
Yes, of course. I walked out to practice every single day with Mark Bortz. We had to do 5 pull-ups and take 2 laps, and Ditka would sit there and watch, and if you didn't do it,
so that was required. That wasn't your own. Okay.
It was mandatory. It was mandatory. And if you tried to sneak by, you would feel the wrath of Ditka.
So were you literally the first 2 on the field, you and Bortzy?
So the offensive lineman had to be out there like 20 minutes before the start of practice, because Dick Stanfeld would put us through our paces and make some corrections. And if we are installing new plays, he would want to go over them before practice got started. So say you had to be on the field at 7:50. We had to be on the field by 7:30 to get those extra reps in before things got underway.
All right, perfect segue into the offensive lineman the Bears picked, Tommy. I think he's going to be just like you guys were. This guy has got old school written all over him. Round 2, the Bears select with number 57 on the round, not Tom Thayer's number as a player, or Olin Kreutz for that matter. Logan Jones out of Iowa, taking him back to last Friday night. All right, so what's going through your mind, first of all?
It's wild. I mean, this is kind of the place, my wife and I kind of talked about. We picked a place we wanted to end up in, and this was the place, so it worked out perfectly. It's awesome.
Why?
The people. I mean, I had a 30 visit here, and I was fortunate to meet like all the coaches. And just talking with them, it just felt like a special place. Reminded me a lot of Iowa, just the people, the culture. It's close to home, Midwest, so everything just kind of fits. It worked out.
So go back to the call. So when you get the call and you got all these thoughts in your mind, and now it's coming to fruition, are you freaking out a little bit and going, "Oh my gosh"?
Yeah. So I remember the moment vividly. I was trying to take my mind off, things. So I got up and started eating some food, just kind of stuff in my face. Next thing you know, I'm getting a call. I look and it says Illinois, and it was Ryan Poles. I was like, let's freaking go. It was perfect. I mean, I couldn't have wrote it up any better.
Was it emotional?
Absolutely. It was hard to stay composed on the phone call, talking with everybody. But coming off that phone call and going over and, hugging my wife, my mom, my family, my teammates, it was awesome, and it's something you work your entire career for.
How would you describe your game to Bears fans?
Yeah, physical. I think that's the biggest thing, and then finish. I'm not always going to be perfect out there, but as long as I'm, finishing, taking dudes downfield, that's the most fun part of this game. So especially as an offensive lineman.
But you seem like such a nice, gentle man.
Yeah. I think it kind of switches once you get out on the field, right? That guy's trying to attack me, so I got to take that away from him and start going after him a little bit.
So when you do a 30 visit, and I'm certain you probably had others, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are you trying to evaluate as well? Because this is as much about you as the team you're going to, as you're going through that and just imagining yourself wearing a Bears uniform.
Yeah, it seriously just felt like like perfect. You know, I told my wife, like, after I got done with this visit, I was like, that was my favorite visit by far. Just, you know, going in there actually talking ball and talking some run, which was just so great. And the way they do things, the zone, it just felt perfect. And actually going under center, we did a lot of that too. I know a lot of teams don't like to do that. They're in the gun a little bit more, but it just felt perfect. You know, just about everything they do here, it seems great. And then, like I said, like the food, we ate some French toast today. It was probably the best French toast I've ever had. So that was pretty cool.
It's the little things, Tommy. The French toast at Hallis Hall left an impression. I love that.
Who doesn't like French toast?
I love it. And having had a few of those over the years at Hallis, I would agree. It's really good. But I sat there and listened to this guy, and you could see the 51 games of play in his answers. I mean, this is a guy who's played a lot of football already, and he's very mature.
You know, one thing I like about Logan Jones is when I listen to the interview and you think about him taking the call from the Bears and the way he was pacing around. So the other night on our Fox show, we got to see actual video of him going through that. And he talks about the importance and the role his family plays in his career development and everything. But he's the only one in the room by himself, walking around, taking the call. And I imagine that after you hang up the phone and you walk in, now you're in front of your family, you know where you're going. You're a Midwest guy. You're going to the Midwest. Just the emotions of that instant for a guy like him that's been fighting for this opportunity his whole life has just got to be just overwhelming.
Remington Award winner, best center in college football, and something that hasn't really been talked about a lot, and you can appreciate this given Mark Bortz, a former defensive tackle. He was recruited to Iowa and was a 2-year defensive tackle and then replaced Tyler Linderbaum as the starting center. A grinder, a competitive temperament. He's got that torque. He's got the squat record at Iowa at 700. And, you know, the size component, I guess it's a flavor of the month type of thing. Do you want a big, tall center with a lot of bulk? Do you want a athletic, smaller pivot? I guess he would lean more in that direction, but he's got strong hands and super smart and has all the traits and all those starts. 49 starts, 51 games at Iowa. But I'm going to defer to you because the intelligence component of that is a big reason why he's a Bear, because Ben Johnson feels and Dan Rochar feels, the offensive line coach, that he can digest a very difficult playbook.
Well, one of the key ingredients for an incoming center from college football is he didn't live a life in shotgun. He had under center snaps, which I think is incredibly important for the center position. And if you just come in and you have a spread offense and you're in shotgun every play and you never feel the hands of the center underneath you, you don't know what that is like to get off the block when you have a zero technique defensive tackle. You don't know what the velocity of that snap feels like and how it feels against the hands of the center. So there's a lot of things just on that little role of taking under center snaps as well as shotgun. I think it expedites the learning process and the improvement process going in the NFL.
All right, here's a bunch of math. As an Iowa Stater, I begrudgingly agreed that Kirk Ferentz knows how to coach offensive linemen and put them in the NFL, Tommy. 24 have been drafted under him. 3 more this year. Logan Jones, Jennings Dunker from Iowa goes to the Steelers. Bo Stevens to the Seahawks. So overall, 101 players drafted out of Iowa under this coach. He crossed the 100-player barrier. A program high 7 Iowa players this year drafted, and 48 consecutive years that an Iowa player has been drafted in the NFL. Jay Hilgenberg, and I brought it up with Logan, Jay Hilgenberg won a Super Bowl as a 7-time consecutive Pro Bowler. I'm very aware of the Hilgenberg legacy. It's going to be kind of cool to kind of live that life now. We'll hear some of that on Bears Weekly this week on ESPN 1000 from Logan. But you know Jay, it's one of your best friends that you've had in your life. Just that Iowa influence of just almost a conveyor belt of talent under the same regime and style of coaching that are NFL ready.
Well, the most impressionable thing to me that Iowa has is they don't get 5-star athletes out of college. They get a bunch of 3-star guys, and Kirk Ferentz talked about that himself. We're not a school that gets, the 5-star guys that Georgia or Alabama or some of the SEC schools are getting, LSU. These guys are developing throughout the course of their college career to become NFL-ready pros. And that's what really leaves an impression on you. If you take that into account, we're not a 5-star guy that we just need to get you to a 5-star or, elevated process of playing so you get drafted. No, we need to make you a better, bigger, stronger football player while you're at Iowa to be the player that's going to get drafted.
And you know what's interesting now? We talk always about the SEC. They've always are getting the most drafted players, most first-round picks. The last 3 national champions in college football: Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana.
Yep.
There's some good competition.
Who won the NCAA basketball tournament? Michigan, right?
Right.
So you're talking about the Big Ten is starting to regain a little bit of that ground of some of the other conferences.
How do you tell a cashier you're a Bears fan without telling them you're a Bears fan? With a Chicago Bears PNC Bank Visa debit card, which gets you exclusive discounts on Bears merchandise. Find out more at pnc.com/BearsCard. With the 69th pick, the Bears chose one of the best blocking tight ends in college football, Stanford Sam Roush. Had an impactful combine interview with the Bears brass and fellow Stanford grad Jim Dre, the Bears tight ends coach.
I felt like they were grilling me a little bit, but I did a good job of handling the pressure, and that's a good interview tactic that teams like to use. But I felt like I'd fit in here, and I think that the Bears kind of recognize that.
It was one Stanford guy
to
the next with Big Jim Dre. How involved was he in this scouting process from your vantage point?
Yeah, I think he was very involved. In the interview with the combine, he was kind of the one running the meeting and throwing up clips on there and quizzing me on coverages and fronts, and they like to put some bad clips on there, and the important thing with those is it's always my fault. Extreme ownership, and it's a good quality to recognize your faults, and I think that's kind of what they were looking for.
First reaction rolling into Hallis Hall in that player's entrance, and you're hit, bam, it's sensory overload and history right in your face.
It makes it real. That was huge. And, just to finally be here, the day after that I actually got drafted, it's huge. And, again, I can't stress how thankful I am to be here. And it's amazing. The Bears is an incredible organization that I'm so proud to be a part of now.
I'm going to let you speak to Bears fans directly and tell them who you are, what your game is all about.
Yeah, I'm a physical player. I love being at the point of attack. I'm not above anything. I want to do whatever it takes to help my team succeed and have success. And that's the kind of player that I believe I am, and I want to be for this organization. Is gritty and relentless, and do whatever it takes for the Bears.
I love how he describes himself to Bears fans, ending this with gritty, relentless, and do whatever I can for the Bears. To me, that's a home run answer and a home run pick. And the impact of Colston Loveland, Cole Kmet, and Sam Roush at that tight end position, because they all do something a little different, and they can all affect every blade of grass, and they all can block. And Cole, as you mentioned, has had increasingly excellent years blocking and really took off a year ago. I mean, and he's always been proud of his blocking, but just what Ben can do with all that versatility is going to be really fun to watch.
When you play a position that you need a variety of guys to play the position correctly, well, and effective, when you hear mature, grounded, and poised about Sam, that's what I like to hear, because you don't want a guy come in here filled with arrogance that's just going to disrupt the flow of the tight end room. And when you have Jim Dre, who was a former Stanford tight end himself, NFL experience, and coming in to coach the variety of jobs that you have to do as a tight end, this guy could be a perfect fit. And what he could really help with is developing whomever's going to be the left tackle of this team. That's a big, really well-schooled blocking guy along with Cole.
Yeah, and Sam has met, he loves running the ball. So that's a big thing too. He is a killer of a blocker. And you talk about the intelligence factor too from 3 programs like Michigan, Notre Dame, and Stanford. Now that makes up your tight end position in that room.
I want to say one more thing about the tight end position and the role and the importance it's growing in the NFL. I think there was 1 fullback drafted this year, Jeff.
2.
Well, okay.
Yeah. The Indiana kid and the Michigan kid. 2 more Big Ten guys.
Two fullbacks drafted, but go and look at how many tight ends were drafted. The tight end is
22, right?
Taken, yeah. 22 or 25. You know better than I do. However, it's just the significant difference in fullbacks and tight ends. And the tight ends, they have the same role as they line up at the fullback, H-back, motion tight end, point of attack tight end, backside tight end, short yardage and goal line tight end. So they are really upping their involvement in offenses.
Yeah, the Bredesen kid from Michigan, I believe he went to the Vikings, and C.J. Ham retired.
You're right.
So there's an opening, and Nowakowski, the Indiana kid, also. And there's a couple of others that they're signed. They have a good chance of making a roster because it is a versatile position.
Well, San Francisco still has a fullback, and he plays a big role in their offense.
All right, here's Bears Director of Player Personnel, Trey Colzio, on the competitiveness of Logan Jones and Sam Roush. They get to know these players to the point as I said, they don't need a single note to work off of, and he spoke eloquently about both.
Well, I don't think it's any secret that, that's one of the things that we're trying to establish in the culture and the identity here. And so, one of the things that's special about these 2 guys, to be able to combine intelligence, football IQ, and football character with a measure of physicality and relentless play style, I think that fits what we're trying to do on offense here and will just help fuel the competition. It makes both rooms better, and guys that love football and show it by the way they play the game.
What were your first interactions with Logan Jones?
I got to meet Logan when he came in for the 30 visit, and it was cool. We actually got to sit down and have lunch with the group and all that, and it was just a really mature, grounded, humble, intelligent young man. And it was I really enjoyed spending time with him. I mean, it was like talking to a 30-year-old in a 24-year-old's body, just with the composure and the poise, but just a really, he's as good of a human being as he is a football player, which is a pretty high bar.
And how about your interactions with Sam Roush? Very interesting background from lineage in the family to what he's done at Stanford.
Yeah. Kind of a renaissance man, and it was really fun talking to him. Got a chance to talk to Sam a little bit down at the Senior Bowl. Was the first time got a chance to talk to him. Came away blown away. Another thing too, it's the poise, the maturity, the intelligence, and then we got a chance to talk to him at the Combine as well, which was great, and get him up on the board and have 2 Stanford alums talking ball with him and Coach Dre. So it was as impressive of an interview as I've seen from a tight end in a long time.
So there you got all the levels. You got area scouts, you got national scouts, you got directors, college scouting, you got director of player personnel. I purposely left the comments at the podium from Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson out of this particular podcast because I really wanted to underscore just how many levels it takes to draft one player and do so to get universal opinion and feel good about it in a building. And they all have reports. They're all going to look back at those reports 3 years from now, 5 years from now, and say, hey, I think we got it right. We got it right.
You got to, I'm sure they don't, but, a check mark of requirements. You hear intelligence, you hear poise, you hear physicality, you hear dedication, you hear culture. There's so many words that we've heard about this class of draft choices that, again, fitting the development of this culture that Ben has started last year. I think every one of these guys are a great candidate for the future.
This podcast is brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer partner of your Chicago Bears. Tastes like Miller Time Chicago. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. All right, let's just hit the rest of them real quick with your thoughts. I'm going to emphasize, so Dylan Thieneman had a 41 vertical and a 4.35 40. Logan Jones, tremendous under 5 in his 40 and a lot of strength. Roush, also outstanding measurables and can run really well. Xavier Thomas, The third-round pick at number 89, third fastest 40 at the combine at 4.28. Big juice here, Tommy. And not just a gadget guy. This guy could work out of the backfield, run the football, and strain through tackles. He is not a small guy. This is not that typical kind of take the top off in defense type of player. While he can do that, there's a competitive attitude with him. And as a kick returner and punt returner, he could be special.
Yeah, double-edged sword. You know, Ben talks about yards after catch. Are you catching a pass in space or are you catching a kickoff or a punt? So I think that's where you're going to be exposed to the type of speed he has. And if he gets out in the open, you're going to be in a trailing position until you cross the goal line.
And again, a complementary piece to what they have. So these are all different skill sets. People may say, okay, why they need another? Well, because he's different than Luther Burden, who's different than Roma Dunze, who's, different than the tight end. So it's a big mix of talent here. All right, fourth round, Malik Muhammad. I'm very intrigued about this player. He seems NFL mentally ready. He's that type of player. He believes in himself. There was a story about him, Tom, when he was going to Texas. There was another player there that was wondering if he was going to be a pro-ready player, and the guy said, well, if you don't know, then you're not going to be. I mean, come on, you're going to be an NFL player, and that player was drafted from Texas. But so is Malik. He's just going to be 22 in season. What can you tell us about him?
First of all, the biggest requirement for a cornerback in the NFL is you got to be willing to tackle. I don't care how big you are. You got to be fundamentally fit, and you have to have the proper technique, and he is willing and capable of doing that. If I was a guy making football decisions, I would draft a cornerback every year. And I always say I think it's the second most difficult position in pro sports outside of quarterback to play. And Mohammed, he's been around a very strict coach. He's been in a big-time program. He's seen some of the best athletes that you can possibly see throughout his college life. And so I expect him to come in here, and I hope he, it seems like we always see these talking cornerbacks that come in with confidence. And I hope he steps up to the plate and he puts on that same type of confidence on display that we've seen over the last few years.
I think he's hardwired to play in the NFL. One touchdown allowed as a primary defender, won each of his seasons, 18 pass breakups in 23, and he held his own against Ohio State wide receiver Jeremiah Smith, who is expected to be a top pick, maybe even the top pick in the upcoming draft for 2027. All right, fifth round, Keyshawn Elliott out of Arizona State, the linebacker, high-end athleticism again, played middle linebacker, the green dot, very educated young man about football. Only player from a power conference in 25 to have more than 90 tackles, more than 14 tackles for loss, and more than 7 sacks. He was the heart of a linebacker room that they called themselves the Werewolves. So he's the top werewolf, Tommy.
Well, he's going to have a great opportunity to contribute here at the linebacker position, but his first contribution is going to have to come on special teams. He's going to have to be part of this core group of guys that Coach Hightower has, the special teams coordinator, and he's got to fit in. The thing about Keyshawn Elliott is he's a linebacker, but he's going to have to learn some of the blocking skills. When you talk about punt protection and kickoff return and stuff, you do have to make that transition into the NFL life. But we've seen it last year with the injuries at the linebacker position. When these guys had to come on the field and play, they were mentally, physically ready to step in and not skip a beat. So I expect the same thing out of Elliott.
Tremendous preparation. This individual, a pro in his work ethic and study habits, one of 10 children, a big weight room guy, and he was an all-state punter as well, and the grandson of the late running back Lenville Elliott. Seventh round pick, number 213, defensive tackle Jordan Vandenberg. They traded up to get him. That means they love him. South African native, a DNA match for the Bears for a lot of reasons, Tom, from character to his weight room superlatives, to his twitchy play.
Listen, I really like the kid. And initially, I had to go back and watch some tape of him to get the impression that I have. He understands how to split double teams. He knows how to disengage from stalemates. He knows how to use his feet in a powerful, positive direction. He's excited after he makes a play. He surrounds himself with teammates and to be excited together. I like everything that he does as a football player. I like his background from the weightlifting due to his grandfather's competitiveness as a pro bodybuilder. So all the things that, again, you want to bring into this football team, that you bring another strong guy into the weight room. And what does that do is that affects other guys. And so I like Jordan coming along, and I can't wait to watch him. He's another guy that I'm waiting for training camp to watch, because I want to see him put his football skills and strength on display.
All right. Studied Grady Jarrett, so he's going to be working with him. That'll be a great leader for him. He loved to wrestle. He played rugby. And a Feldman freak from Bruce Feldman from The Athletic. He does every year. He was number 18 on his list. Feldman freaked last year, Tommy. So I'll give you the numbers, and you just say this. You say check, power clean 390.
Huge.
Squat 675.
Big time.
Bench 450.
Big time.
36 and a half vertical, 19.5 mile per hour, 40 at the combine. He hit that number. I mean, this is an athlete right here. This is an interesting athlete. And what I like, just popping on the highlights, you hit upon some of them, but I like how he gets quickly on the edges of an offensive lineman and makes it, he gets small and makes it really difficult for them to stay with him because of his strength and slipperiness. So we'll see how that translates in the NFL.
One thing about strength, whether you talk about Dylan Tienneman's bench, or you talk about Logan Jones, or you talk about Vandenberg, when you talk about the top number in the lifts that we've seen so far, I don't think anybody takes into account the thousands and thousands and thousands of reps that you have to do at the 420, at the 400, at the 395, at the 375 power clean. Those are the numbers that are most impressive to me in order to get to that 390 power clean, that 700-pound squat, So take into consideration the thousands of reps that they've gone through to get to that number.
So you're telling me to get from 450 to 475, he'd have to do 450 how many times?
You'd have to do it confidently, a couple hundred times in your life. And, it's like I, tell the story about my jump from 495 to 500 on the bench. It took me forever and the encouragement of Steve McMichael for me to get there. And I was frustrated with a 5-pound jump.
5 pounds.
And mentally, that hurdle sometimes it's hard to overcome. But for the numbers that you're talking about, these guys, just the thousands and thousands of reps that they've gone through in order to get there.
When you had 495 on the bar, how many times did you try 500 and fail?
Probably 10 to 15.
Okay. As a Bear?
But it's over a period of time. So when these guys, say one of these guys are benching 500, so you got to go 135, 225, 315, 365, 385, 405. So you're working these reps so you can get warm enough in order to get up to that level. So these incremental jumps are difficult to convince yourself that you're capable of doing it, because 495 is so hard. How can I do 5? So it's just the encouragement that you need out of a teammate or someone in the room.
All right, so you're lifting in Platteville at this time too, at the first training camp. Did you do any lifting in Platteville?
Oh, tons.
Okay, so Clyde gets you on the bench, and you're starting your day. What are you warming up with?
It's always 135. It's always 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plate, and then you kind of incrementally jump from there.
But you credit
135, 225, 315.
You credit Steve McMichael for getting you over the hump.
From 495 to 500.
And what'd you top out at in your career?
535.
Oh, my Lord. I don't even know you anymore.
And that's a lift off from every one of my lifts were witnessed by Clyde.
That's crazy. The legend, Clyde Emmerich. A couple undrafted players to keep an eye on. Tom, they call him the Vanilla Gorilla. They call him the Vanilla Gorilla. An undrafted offensive lineman, Caden Barnett. There's a defensive tackle, Jaden Loving, to keep an eye on. Safety from Oregon State, Skylar Thomas, plays fast, urgent, great open field tackler. That guy is somebody to watch. There will be some others. On long snapper, Beggs Gardner. They feel he was the best long snapper in this draft.
Wow.
So he's an undrafted free agent, couple guys to keep an eye on. So, hey, Bears fans, Steinhoffel is a proud partner of the Chicago Bears. This Bears season, Steinhoffel is partnering with Special Spaces Illinois to create dream bedrooms for children battling cancer. For every false start caused by the Bears defense during a home game, Steinhoffels will donate $1,000 to Special Spaces Illinois. Shop in store and online at steinhoffels.com. Well, that's going to wrap us up, our draft extravaganza. We talked about it for months. It finally came to fruition. And I feel the Bears did a very nice job with the returning healthy players on the veteran side of things. This should be a very competitive offseason in the training camp for the Bears. I think Tom Thayer agrees. And for Tom and all these fine guests, I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please subscribe now to the Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, everybody.